Broncos and Browns this weekend. So let's name this is a franchise with a very storied tradition, very storied history.
Not lately.
The Cleveland Browns. That's true.
A lot of stories.
But if you
lately.
go back to the 40s and 50s and 60s, they were damn good. Talking about the Cleveland Browns.
Well, you started.
Okay. My number 6 is Lou Groza. I mean, the man had the nickname the Toe. If you're going to have a nickname like that, you were pretty good. He was not only a great kicker, but he was a great offensive lineman.
He wasn't a great kicker. They were kicking like 15-yard field goals.
Straight on, too.
Sure.
And he was a great offensive lineman.
You know where the goalposts were back then?
They were at the back, or no, they were at the front of the end zone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he was kicking from like 8 feet.
He had a 10-yard cheat on him.
What you're missing is he was a great offensive tackle.
Yes.
He was,
he was an
all-pro offensive tackle.
Marion Motley, a great fullback who really ran like a halfback, one of the first African-Americans to play pro football, phenomenal player, part of many, many championship teams in the NFL. So was Gene Hickerson. There's a reason Jim Brown and Leroy Kelly ran for so many yards. Gene Hickerson, the offensive lineman, was that guy, 15 years in the NFL, many, many Pro Bowls. Otto Graham, who led them to, I believe, 7 championships and 10 straight championship games. Otto Graham at quarterback. Number 2, Jim Brown. I don't think I need to say anything there. And number 1, the greatest Cleveland Brown of all time was the guy they named the franchise after. The owner and one of the pioneers of the NFL, Paul Brown.
Sure.
Named the stadium after.
Then later on, was the head of at Cincinnati Bengals.
Yep.
And his son
still runs them.
Yeah.
Mike.
Yeah. We can run through mine pretty quickly, go through them, because I'm going to tell a story while you're running through it. I've got the same people you have, except I have Ozzie Newsome instead of Paul Brown. And you were right. You won today. You won. But I got to tell a Gene Hickerson story.
Okay.
So I'll take my time, basically, to the show. Gene Hickerson was the first messenger guard in the history of the NFL. Paul Brown came up with this idea of alternating offensive tackles, and he'd send in the play. And then everybody went, what a great idea. Rather than the quarterback calling plays, I'm going to call the plays. I interviewed Gene Hickerson in his career when I was a young sports writer. He went to Ole Miss. He was back visiting Ole Miss. I went down there to interview him about the Browns, who had championship teams in, as you said, storied. And Jimmy will appreciate this, being a newspaper guy at some point. So went down, and I called in my story. We had no computers. We had no way to get it.
So you would dictate the story to the editor?
Huh. So they got a young man, who was probably older than me, but because I was 22 or something like that. And I said, you ready to take dictation? Ole Miss, Oxford, Mississippi, by Woody Page, Commercial Appeal sports writer. The school was Ole Miss, right? University of Mississippi. So I dictated. Ole Miss's Gene Hickerson said yesterday, the Browns are going to be repeat NFL champions. And I quoted him, and I went on, I wrote the story, and the next day I'm called in by the managing editor of the Memphis Commercial Appeal. He says, kid, you made a tragic mistake yesterday. And I said, what? He said, next time interview Gene Hickerson, don't interview his wife. Because the guy who took the dictation, my lead on my story said, old Mrs. Gene Hickerson.
Wow.
Because when I said it, I was saying possessive, old Mrs. Gene Hickerson.
Wow.
So
That's
I have
funny.
a story where it looks like I'm interviewing his wife.
Yeah. Was he just one of those tough, gnarly offensive linemen from the 50s and 40s,
While
50s?
He said, you want to go to lunch? He brought out nails. And he started eating nails.
Oh, yeah, right.